have some questions for you.
All right, go ahead and ask.
Ken, do you want to see the questions beforehand?
No, I want to wing it. That's when I get in the most trouble.
What is something that you wish more first-time home buyers knew before reaching out to a real estate agent?
I wish home buyers knew that the first step on their real estate journey should be to reach out to an agent.
Yes.
You need to reach out to an agent. You don't need to get pre-approved first. You don't need to save up a lot of money first for a down payment. All you need to do is talk to an agent. You could think in your mind that you're 6 months away, a year away, 2 years, but talking to an agent who knows what they're doing and works with a lot of buyers, especially first-time buyers, they are going to be able to help you figure out a path forward and a plan in order to achieve the goal of home ownership.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for those who don't know, so when I bought a condo last year, it was around the same time last year, I asked Rick to be my realtor. So that kind of leads me into my next question is how important do you think it is for someone to click with their realtor?
Oh, it's essential to have a good rapport
Right?
with your real estate agent.
Yeah.
You're going to be spending a lot of time together. You're going to be going in and out of properties together, and having that rapport and having them able to actually connect with you and understand what you're looking for is going to be essential to them being able to do their job. We don't just open doors. We help you figure out which doors you need to open to find the right home.
Yeah. Just something that I've always noticed about working with you over the years is you really stay in touch with your clients. And like anytime I've done your closings, for example, and you come in here with your first time home buyers or whatever client it is, like it's always clear to me, I'm like, oh, this is the start of a friendship, or the friendship's already started and now like they're phasing out a realtor client relationship into just like new friends.
I love my clients so much. I love people. It's why I love what I do. I love being around people that I know. I love meeting new people. I love making new friends. So a lot of my clients do become my friends, and it just makes the process so much more enjoyable for them, for me. I think it removes a lot of the stress from the table. And when you become friends with someone, you trust them.
Yeah.
And having my clients trust me is a really important part of this, because I'm taking them on a journey that for a lot of them is very scary.
Yeah.
Buying a home is a lot of money. It's a big step, and they need someone that they know is really on their side and,
Totally.
and in it for the right reasons.
Totally. That's one of the big reasons, one of the many reasons why I actually chose you to be my realtor was, and you know, like just from my standpoint, being in the title world, I had hundreds, if not 1,000 agents I could have chosen from in this area. But when it really came down to what I was looking for, and just from what I've seen, again, from doing your closings with your clients, like first thing that comes to mind is, oh, Rick fights. Rick knows how to fight for his clients. Like, and I really saw that on my transaction too. Like we had issues with the HOA. I still have issues with my HOA. But, that's something I've always loved about you. And I knew I was going to want that for myself and a realtor. I also love your background in education as well, being a former teacher. I see that in our world at Ally Title, in the title world. We actually have a lot of former teachers on staff who do, just a variety of different things for the company, and they're some of our best employees.
Yeah, people often ask me, I got into real estate. I was in the classroom for almost 10 years before I got into real estate, and people ask me all the time, don't you wish you had gotten into real estate sooner and found it sooner? Because, you'd be that much further along in your career, you would have been more developed, et cetera. And I always say no.
Yeah.
I think my time in the classroom helped me develop skills
Yeah.
that I didn't even realize would translate until they started translating.
Yeah.
The interpersonal skills, the ability to de-escalate situations, to multitask, to look at things in different ways and present them to people. I mean, as a teacher, we learn about different learning styles, and adults have those too. And so if my clients aren't understanding something, I can figure out a different way to explain it to them that fits how they see the world and how they understand things.
Totally.
So that they can have that moment and really understand. I think there are some agents who go through the process and just want to do it for their clients and not necessarily have them engaged in the process as much as I like to have my clients engaged. I want them to feel like they're at the forefront and they have as much information as they need, without being overwhelmed by a bunch of industry jargon and things that honestly they don't really need to know unless it comes up or unless they ask to know it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. And then just some other reasons I chose you too. The team that you're on. This is something that maybe a lot of people who aren't new to are new to real estate, I should say, might not even consider when they're choosing an agent. But given the fact that I've been in the industry for a while, I've worked with Trent Co for many years. I love your team. I love the way you guys run, and I think, when an agent makes a really good teammate, it makes you a better agent too. You're not just learning from your own experiences, you're learning from each other, from Trent. So that's something as a client important to me. Or things come up, like if an emergency comes up on another deal, like there's someone on your team that it's like, no problem. Like I can be Rick and come help you with this. So that was really important to me. The trust, that's obviously there, and that was built over the years. I really like you, and I could see myself like just
I like
spending.
you too.
Thank you. No, but it's like what you were saying. It's important. Like we're spending hours together on the weekends. In my case, like looking at places, and it's such a personal decision too that you have to be comfortable, like talking about stuff. I don't know if you remember, but do you remember the first place I put an offer on and I didn't get it? And you told me, and I was like, okay, good. I was sort of having cold feet about it. You're like, wait, what? Wait, what? I was like, yeah, this is what's going on. And, we talked through that, but I was comfortable. And that was actually, it was emotional for me. That was an emotional reason behind me being happy about not getting my offer.
And I'm a really firm believer that everyone gets the home that they're meant to have.
100%.
And I talk to my clients about that if they don't get the first home. Or, I a lot of times walk into a place and my clients are kind of back and forth on it. And I say, you know what, I don't know if this is the place for you. And they say, well, don't you want to get it done? Don't you want to put something under contract? And I say, no, I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And I can tell at this point when my clients walk into the right place.
Yeah.
And once we find that right place, I will do anything I can to fight for them to get it.
Yeah.
And does it work out all of the time? No. Does it work out the majority of the time? Yes. But to what you said about having a team, I think a lot of people don't understand what a real estate team is versus a brokerage. So my team is Trent Co. I'm with Compass as my brokerage. So I hang my license with Compass. That gives me a lot of clout in the industry. That gives me a lot of resources. But my team is a smaller group. I think we have 8 agents right now and 3 full-time staff on our team. And we work together even more intimately. So I always explain it, because of the world I come from, like a school district. So Compass is my school district, and Trent Co is my school. So Trent of Trent Co is our principal. So the whole school district gets to share resources, but the individual school or team gets to share resources more intimately.
Yeah.
And more specifically to our needs for our population of clients. So that's how I would just describe it, and that seems to work for people. But outside of that, I also have a larger team that I've brought together. So I have lenders that I work with.
Mm-hmm.
I have inspection companies that I work with, and I've grown to trust them, because a lot of my clients, if they've ever bought a home before, it's only been once or twice. So they don't really have a favorite lender or a favorite title company.
Yeah.
Or a favorite inspector. If they do, of course, I defer to them always. But otherwise, I have great suggestions of people I work with on a monthly, weekly, daily basis that can really give them the best service. And I put forward the service that people give to my clients when I'm deciding who to work with. In fact, one of the questions that I think buyers are afraid to ask a lot of the time is, why are you referring this person to me? So if I refer a lender to someone, I think a lot of times people think, oh, what is Rick getting out of this? Why is he pushing so hard for me to talk to someone if I've already been talking to a lender for 3 months, I'm pre-approved? Why does he want me to talk to this other lender that he has this relationship with? And I think people assume that there's some sort of referral or kickback or something like that. And so I put it out there and I say, look, the only reason I'm suggesting that you consider this person and have a conversation is because I know they're going to give you amazing service. It's going to make the transaction smooth. The person you've spoken to may or may not be just as good, but I can't vouch for them. I've never worked with them. Yeah. Whereas this person I've worked with over 100 times on transactions. Yeah. And having that experience, and that's where the trust comes in too, right? So having that experience, so I tell people, it's illegal for me to take any kind of referral from a lender, for example. I'm not allowed to do that. So the only thing I get out of it is knowing that my clients are going to be well taken care of and have a great experience. And I want the people I introduce my clients to, I want them to have the same theory behind client relations that I have, which is the client comes first. We listen to our clients and we tailor the experience to the needs of our clients.
That's right.
Versus one size fits all.
I totally agree. And just to wrap that up in a pretty bow, because I could go on all day about why I chose you to be my agent, but I will say one more thing is before, like, I knew I was going to work with you for certain, just having worked with you, title company to real estate agent over the years, something I've always noticed is you have high expectations, like nothing but the best for your clients. And I've always said to you, like, you keep us on our toes. Like, something doesn't look right, or, conference room's a little messy or something. That's just it's just one little example, but
Clients deserve it.
But I completely agree. They do. And you don't see that from many agents. Like, not saying you're confrontational, because you're not. You're just not afraid to say what you want and what you expect. And I, for one, appreciate that. It makes us better. You're honestly someone who says what other people are probably thinking.
I've known in many facets of my life for giving maybe unsolicited advice
Yeah.
sometimes, but it always comes from a place, a good place, and a place
I
of
completely agree.
wanting people to be their best.
Yeah.
So I have a rule. I will never give criticism or unsolicited advice without providing an option for a solution. Mm-hmm. So I'm never going to tell
That's
you
so
something
true.
is wrong without saying, hey, but maybe you could try
That's
this.
so true. Yeah, you're so right about that.
Because, it's a mutual relationship, right? I referred this client to Allied, and if Allied isn't at the top of their game, then my client isn't going to be happy, and I'm going to have to find another title company because I want my clients to have the best. Luckily, Allied is always at the top of their game, and you give a great experience. I've had clients who have closed on something. I remember one client, his partner was closing, and he had closed with Allied, and his partner wasn't because it was new construction. We had to use their title company.
Yeah.
And he said, wow, my closing was so much more fun than yours. It was just better. I mean, you don't have cookies. You don't have, their office was so much better. I had a view of the monument. And he was going on and on.
Yeah.
By the end of it, his partner was just sitting there like, oh, why did I get ripped off?
Yeah, exactly. I just got a pen.
Yeah.
No, but it was something every time I've closed with you and your clients, I'm like, that's exactly what I would want from my agent. So, yeah.
That's good to know, because you see a lot of closings.
A lot, yeah, I know. And I mean, we work with a ton of really good agents, so sure, it was tough at first, like, oh God, how am I going to choose someone? But then when I thought about it, I was like, it's not that hard, because these are the things that are important to me, and Rick is the agent that delivers on those priorities.
I don't really want you to put this in, but
yeah.
I don't understand when agents say, oh, I haven't been to a closing in a year. I haven't been to a closing in 3 years with my clients. That's the most exciting part for your client, and that's part of the experience. I think in my entire career, I've missed maybe 2 or 3 closings, and it's been because they've been over, a holiday. I'm out of town or something, but I always make myself available and check in with them. Sellers, it's a little bit easier because it's a much shorter process. But when I have a buyer who's closing and I'm not here, I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm letting them down even if I'm not. So I am always at closings unless there's a real reason I can't be. I've even changed closing dates.
Yeah.
And gotten the people on the other side of the transaction to adjust it a day forward or back so
That's
that I
great.
could be there with my clients. Do I have to be there? Probably not. But I don't want to not be there. I mean, they're walking into a room of strangers at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm the familiar face and I'm the one they trust. I'm going to be there.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. So you might have a couple of these, but what is one real estate myth or a myth about real estate agents that you would like to debunk?
Myth 1. We do not just open doors. Real estate agents do a lot. You don't always see what we're doing. There's things behind the scenes that we're doing to help the transaction move forward. But when you hire a real estate agent, you're hiring them for their expertise. And our job is to make sure that you don't know how much we could be doing for you. My job is to make sure the transaction runs smoothly, to head off issues before they become issues for my clients, to keep the stress level down for my clients by handling those things before they become something that my clients, I do things sometimes to squash a problem before it even becomes a problem, so my clients never know what happened. I remember I had clients that put something under contract, left for their honeymoon 2 days later, and came back 2 days before signing.
Wow.
And I spent a week going back and forth right before closing with the lender, their lender that they chose, and going back and forth. I spoke to people in 4 different states. I got the runaround. I was lied to a few times, and I got down to the bottom of things and I fixed it. And at the closing table, the title agent asked how their experience was with their lender, and they said amazing. And I looked at them and I said, if you think that's true, I'm very good at my job. Because, and they said, what happened? And I said, we can talk about it after closing.
Yeah.
But basically, I did not want to stress you out on your honeymoon. So I handled some things that needed to be handled, and you never knew about it. And afterwards, I told them what was going on, and they thanked me immensely
Good for you.
for
I'm glad you told them.
letting them enjoy their honeymoon.
Yeah.
I think I only told them because it came up.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were friends prior as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to understand that having an experienced agent is important, and not all agents are created equal.
Yeah.
If you're having heart surgery, I saw this in an article a couple weeks ago. If you're having heart surgery, you don't necessarily want the heart surgeon who has only done 2 heart surgeries that year. You want someone who's doing heart surgeries every day. You want someone who's in it, who has the best technology, who has the best skills and the best techniques, and they're constantly learning and improving through their experience. And I think as a newer agent, it's possible to have that as long as you associate yourself and become part of a team. And that's where I leveraged my team when I was first starting out. I made sure that I was with a team, Trent Co, that had the resources and the wherewithal, and everything I did for at least the first year, if not the first 2 or 3, he might still say today. Trent was there with me. I was asking questions. I had other teammates that were wonderful with answering my questions. They got nothing out of the transaction other than knowing they were helping a teammate. And it's actually great now because I have certain specialties that I know more intimately than they do now, so they call me. So I'm able to pay that back, or I guess it's not pay it forward, but I'm able to pay that back because they call me now to ask a question. I'm kind of the Virginia specialist on our team because I do the most of anyone in Virginia. So if they have a question about Virginia, they'll ask me, and I get to be that person for them. So it's a give and a take. So my best advice, if you're a new agent watching this, is to get yourself on a team, a good team that's going to work with you and has a really good reputation already, because you get to leverage that team's name and that team's reputation when you're still learning and you're still brand new.
So true.